The same as before, just a slightly trickier example this time. So again, where does it cut the x-axis, the y-axis, the turning point? So let's look at this example. So A cuts the x-axis when y equals 0. So changing your y to 0 gives us minus 4x squared minus 6x plus 4 equals 0. So now we have to factorize that. Now notice we can take out a common factor of 2, but whenever you have any negative x squareds, I would always take the negative. So even if you just had negative x squared minus 6x plus 4, even if it was just that, I would still take out a negative, which would leave you with x squared plus 6x minus 4, because it changes all the signs. But we don't have just a negative, we have a negative 4. So back to our example, we are going to take out negative 2, because we can divide all of those numbers by negative 2. And that will leave us with 2x squared plus 3x minus 2. So it's always a good idea to factorize as much as you possibly can before, take highest common factorize before you go any further, because it makes life easier. So now leaving our minus 2 out there, don't just drop it. We need to work out what goes in the brackets. So taking the first 2, that gives us the factors 2 times 1. And the second 2, the very end, gives us the factors 2 times 1 again. Or the other grid we could have is 2 times 1 and 1 times 2. If this is something you think I'm not sure about, maybe it's a good idea to go back and do some of the work on a quadratic factorizing. So we go across the way and we're trying to create the plus 3 diagonally. So 2 times 1 is 2. 1 times 2 is 2. We cannot make a number 3 from the number 2 and the number 2. So that's not it. Then down here, 2 times 2 is 4. 1 times 1 is 1. We can make a plus 3 as long as it's a plus 4 and a minus 1. That will give us a positive 3. So we want the 1 to be minus, so we have to make it 1 times minus 1. And then we read across the way. So that gives the 2 and the minus 1 gives me 2x minus 1. And the 1 and the 2 gives me 1x plus 2. So negative 2 can't be 0. So either 2x minus 1 is 0 or x plus 2 is 0. Then solving the first equation, adding 1 to both sides, 2x is 1. Dividing both sides by 2 gives me a half. Then the second one, taking 2 from both sides, x is minus 2. So that gives me the coordinates of the roots where it cuts. That's where it cuts the x-axis, which is minus 2 across, 0 up, and a half across, 0 up. Okay, then where does it cut the y-axis? So part B cuts y-axis when x equals 0. So now making my x into 0, going back to the equation in the box and changing x to 0. So y is minus 4 times 0 squared, minus 6 times 0, plus 4. So that's going to be 4. So it cuts the x-axis at 0 across, 4 up. So now let's sketch those bits. So y to the sky, x across. Then my roots are at minus 2 across, 0 up, and a half across, 0 up. And then where it cuts the y-axis is 0 across, 4 up. Now that's going to give us a funny shape, an upside down and N shape, but that's what we expect, because remember when your x squared is negative, so our x squared is negative 4x squared. Whenever your x squared is negative, it's N-shaped. So we're not surprised that it's that way around. But let's draw it anyway. So it's going to be going up, and the turning point will be before the y-intercept and back down again. Okay, imagine that's smooth. So there's our turning point, our maximum turning point this time. It's at the maximum, the tallest point of the curve. So part C, the turning point is at x equal to, so it's halfway between the -2 and the half. So halving those numbers, so we do -2.5 divided by 2. So minus of 2.5, if you're at -2 and you've got it by half, you get to -1.5. I'm going to write it as a decimal because I think that's easier to do in my head. And then -1.5 divided by 2 is -0.75. So that's my x coordinate of my turning point. Just going to move. Can I move my y? No, I can't move my y, it's stuck. So my turning point is -0.75. That's my x coordinate, and I need to find my y coordinate. So for the y coordinate, I plug it back into my equation. So when x is -0.75, y is, so back into the equation, -4 times 0.75, -0.75 squared, minus 6 times -0.75 plus 4. And if I were you, I'd put that into your calculator and you get 6.25 or 6.25. So that gives me the coordinates of my turning point, which is -0.75 across, 6.25 up. And make sure that makes sense. So it's higher than 4, so that's what we'd expect. So 6.25 or 6.25.